Alright, last video, we tore down this 250R engine, and today we're going to remove the main crank bearings, and I'm going to show you how to take them out and install new bearings, and I'm going to install the one side of the crank, so stay tuned. Okay, so here we have our ignition side of our case, and this side actually has a roller bearing here, so we're going to use the hydraulic press and we're going to press out this roller bearing, but I'm going to add a little heat to it first, give it a little encouragement. So right now, I'm just applying some heat to the aluminum that's surrounding the bearing, that way it expands and it's a little less tight on there because these actually have zero tolerance when they are installed. The bearing is actually bigger than the opening of the hole. So we're going to get this heated up and then we're going to flip it over and press it out. Here we have a 44.5 millimeter little, I guess you could call it a bearing installer. And we're just going to use that and we're going to press out this bearing. Now, these roller bearings can be tricky sometimes because if the rollers pop out, then you'll have to get a bearing puller and pull it out. But it's the same concept, you'll just heat it up and pull it out. Alright, so we're about to get on here. Now we're going to make sure we're nice lined up straight. And then I put this piece of wood down here so we don't damage our case on this metal railing. So it's just a little safety precaution. Now we're just going to slowly and steadily push this out. You can hear it giving way. And just like that, it pushed out. So we're going to pull up our jack. I'll show you guys. So the bearing is out. Here is the old bearing. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to apply some fresh heat. And we're going to put our new roller bearing in. So as we get this ready, this one is a 59 millimeter, and this is a bigger diameter than the bearing, so that way you're not damaging your new bearing as you're pressing it in. So we're just going to go ahead and press this in nice and gently until it bottoms out, and we'll definitely know when it's bottomed out. Okay, it's going in good and steady. Alright, we're all the way in. Alright, so we got our new roller bearing in. You just want to check, make sure it rolls good. That way you know you didn't damage the bearing. And then it's flush. So we're good that way too. So now we're ready to do the clutch side. Okay, so here's the clutch side of the case. As you can see, this one is a ball bearing, not a roller bearing. And so these ones are much easier to press in and out. But we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna apply a little bit of heat around here, flip it over, push it out. I don't need to re-explain everything because it's the same process pretty much. We're going to refreshen the heat and then we're going to push it in. Alright, we got that one pressed in nice and flat all the way around, so now we're good. So now we're going to install the locks, and I'll show you how to install the crank on this side specifically. Now, so I just got done putting the transmission back in. A quick way to know your transmission is correct with your shift forks in there and your shift drum. So I have everything in here transmission wise. If it can spin freely and it doesn't bind up on itself, then that's how you know you got all your gears aligned and it's working, and you should be able to turn the shift drum and it should shift through the gears. And if it still spins freely, then it's gonna work when you close your case. Just a fun tip. So we have a brand new crankshaft. This thing's a beauty. Honda does do a good job with their crankshafts. So this side, like I was saying, this is the roller bearing side. So you don't have to do anything crazy. It literally can just sit in there and you give it a little turn and it puts itself into place. Pretty sleek design. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this just up a little bit because my crankshaft hits it. Okay, so again, you just kind of wiggle it in there. See that? Plop all the way down. Now we can take our other side of our case. So this is the clutch side. And our little oil control bypass fell out. Just a little bit around the rubber edge because I don't want it to fall out of place when I'm trying to put this back on. Alright, so now it's going to stay in there, which will give me a chance to do this without stuff binding up. So with this stand, these pegs don't always help me line up correctly, but if you just take your time, work things nice and slow, be gentle, and boom. Alright, so that was actually super nice. It came all the way together and seated nice and properly the first time. I didn't have to jiggle too hard. Usually with this side, the clutch side of the crank, you have to pull it into the bearing or heat it up and pull it in there, but I think it was still a little bit warm from when we pressed in the bearings originally, so that's why it's seated. Alright, thank you for watching. So just a recap, we installed the new crank bearings and the new crank, and we reinstalled the transmission. There's nothing wrong with the transmission. Unfortunately, on this top side, I didn't get to show you this cool little crank puller I have. It actually just clamps onto that side of the crank and it pulls the bearing onto that crank. It's pretty sweet. Makes life super simple, but in this case, it worked out. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and there's more to come on this 250 build. Thank you again.